everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Hello. Kind of got the messy hair thing going on today, but it's kind of there. I fell asleep last night with my glasses on. Apparently, while I was sleeping, I'm letting people into the room, so bear with me. I took them off and threw them, and I couldn't find them this morning. First time for me falling asleep with my glasses on. Hey, apparently they irritated me in the middle of the night, and I took them off. God only knows what I did with them because I can't find them anywhere this morning. Only in my life, right? So definitely want to talk to you guys. I'm sure we'll get some more. Thank you, Val. Thank you. I am 4 pounds away from my goal weight. 4. 4. And I'm trying. I really am. I'd stand up and show you, but I don't want to freak you out. So in case you guys haven't been paying attention, Patty is watching carbs and eliminating them from her mouth. And it's making the weight fall off. And I love it. But yeah, I'm 4 pounds away from my goal weight. You know that goal you set when you're overweight? Yeah, I'm very close to it. Thank you, Val. That makes me feel good. I'm getting thinner by the day. I got news. It's not great news, but it's news, okay? I've been watching Assembly Bill 12. We're going to see a lot of people come in as soon as the webinar from AGLA ends, I'm more than sure. We have quite a bit of activity that I've been watching. Sorry, I know I keep touching things, but my alarms are going off and people are entering and they want to come in. So let's talk about it. This is one that I've watched from inception. I've been watching this bill since December 5th of 2022. And I'm talking about Assembly Bill 12. It is 12. It is not 14. It is 12. And I think of it like a dozen now, and it'll stick in my head and I won't lose it again. And if Arlene was in here, she would be proud of me for finding a new way to remember it. Hang on, I'm letting people in. Get you guys all in here after the AGLA webinar with Dennis Block. So we're talking about Assembly Bill 12. I've been watching this Assembly Bill since its inception date of when it was generated on December 5th of 22. We are now 7-8 months into this bill. At the end of July, there will be a third reading at the House of the Senate, which is where it is now. And then it will most likely get put on Newsom's desk for approval, and then it'll become law. I thought for sure I'd see this fall through the cracks and go away. Oh, Arlene's with us now. Arlene is with us now. Arlene, we were joking earlier and I said it's Assembly Bill 12, not 14. I got the number now and I recognize it by a dozen. And that's how I won't forget it. And thank you for keeping me straight. Assembly Bill 12 will limit landlords to only collecting 1 month's rent as a security deposit as a maximum, even on a fully furnished unit. I am watching this bill evolve through the system until it becomes law, because I get asked questions. How long does it take before an assembly bill turns into a civil code? Let me pick one and watch it. So I've been watching this one since December 5th. Here's what I could tell you guys. Fill up your buckets while the Grunion are running. They aren't going to run forever. The likelihood of this bill passing is very high. And it would limit us for only collecting 1 month's rent maximum as a security deposit, even on a fully furnished unit. So my theory is simple. Fill up your buckets while the Grunion are running. They don't run forever. If you don't know the reference I'm using, make yourself familiar because I use it a lot. Okay? Has to do with fishing and catching fish by the buckets full, okay? And you can only catch them with your bare hands, and you can only fill up your buckets while they are running. When they're not running, you're done. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. In the event this law passes, which it will most likely do, we will hear about it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, just because the wind blew, and it'll be, this is now the law. So the opportunity for you to do anything about it is going to be gone already. Makes sense? That's why I'm telling you right now, fill up your buckets. The grunion don't run forever. The likelihood of this law passing is very high. I saw a question come in. It's Val. Hi, Val. I'm just about to place a tenant at $1,500 rent, and we're asking for a $1,500 deposit and a $500 cleaning fee. They have no pets, or I would charge a pet fee. Good girl. Sounds like you got all your ducks in a row. Just so everybody understands, she is in Kern County and has a different set of rules than we all do. Okay, sorry. I'm going to guess that the AGLA webinar has just ended because I am seeing a plethora of people coming in from the AGLA webinar. A plethora. Hi, everybody. We're here. We're talking about Assembly Bill 12. I hope you had a nice chit chat with Dennis Block and his perspective on things. Yes, it must have, you guys, because here they come. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm assuming you're just joining us from Dennis Block's webinar with AGLA. But what do I know? What do I know? I asked a question in there. It didn't get asked, and I'm glad. It was bad. This would be when Patty shuts up. Okay, so we're talking about Assembly Bill 12. And at the end of July, we're going to have a third reading at the House of the Senate. And then it will be you saw my question, Arlene? Shh, don't ask it in here, please. It is a genuine question. Do you know why I asked that question? Because it's true and it's happening. How do I know? It's true. It's happening. One of the things we watch here at the law firm is who the attorney is that's representing the tenant. It's something that we pay attention to. I'll leave my statement at that. Let's get back to Assembly Bill 12. The likelihood of this passing is very high. I don't want anybody to panic about it. I've been talking about it for a long time. And what I want to know is, how long does it take for an assembly bill to actually become a law? I get asked this question quite a bit, and I could never answer it. So this is one that I'm following. We're about 8 months into this bill right now, and it's passed the House of Assembly, passed voting from Newsom, is on the floor of the Senate. It's been read twice. It looks like there will be a third reading probably at the end of this month, and then it will evolve from there. So unfortunately, one of the new laws that I'm watching just to see how it comes about, because then when you guys ask me a question, I can answer it better. I have better information. I have better knowledge. So used myself to educate that one. I see. No, Melanie, no, no. You saw it, Arlene. I'm proud of you that you saw it. I didn't. I did it anonymously, and then my picture showed up. Oops. Oops. Just a question I had. Okay. Does anybody have anything today? Yes, they are, Anna. They've passed an ordinance. They're trying to make it an issue in LA. And I'm going to be extremely honest with you guys, so please pay attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. It is a matter of time. Oh, a matter of time before air conditioning will be required within the state. What, Patty? What in the hell did you just say? Global warming is real. We are genuinely getting affected by these incoming heat waves. If you think that they're not going to make air conditioning a requirement, you're sadly mistaken. They're already doing so in LA. It's in process. It didn't pass yet. It's in process. And people are asking me, is it going to be a Windows unit? Is it going to be an HVAC? How's it going to be? See, here it all comes. Swamp coolers stop working when the temperatures exceed 100 degrees. Want me to say that again? How does Patty know this? Because Patty managed property in the high desert. Yep. You guys, please pipe in. Swamp coolers stop working when the temperature exceeds 100 degrees. What all that moisture then does is create a humidity problem, and then it's hot and sticky because it's wet. Oh, AC works everywhere. I say exceeds 90 degrees. See, Val knows what's up. We're talking about evaporative coolers, AKA swamp coolers. As soon as the temperature hits 100 degrees, the swamp cooler doesn't cool down the air temperature anymore. What it does is add humidity, which rises the heat index. So a swamp cooler functioning at 102 degrees is actually just creating a sauna, not cooling. It's actually increasing the inner temperature of the property by introducing all that moisture. It's kind of like being in a rainstorm in Alabama in the middle of the summer, where it's just swampy, wet, hot. That is what an evaporative cooler does. Okay? It doesn't work once the temperature exceeds 100 degrees. Then all it does is add humidity into the air and make it sticky, wet, hot, like Alabama hot. Okay? Which is that moisture, wetness, yuck. I love it when people call me during a webinar. It just is wonderful. Okay, lots of questions are coming in. Are air conditioners required in LARSO units? What are the requirement now? They're trying to pass it. Hold on, folks. It didn't go through yet. Do swamp coolers count San Bernardino County? Evaporative coolers will count unless it exceeds 100 degrees. And I got a question for you. Does it ever exceed 100 degrees in San Bernardino County? So if we know swamp coolers don't work, we may want to encourage landlords to make a change when theirs stops functioning. Okay, just saying. And it's a matter of time before they pass it as a state law just because of the global warming issue. No joke there. So people are going to ask me, are we able to put in window ACs instead? I don't know. It hasn't become a state law yet, but it's coming. And I'll let you know as soon as I have more insight on it. But what I'm trying to tell you is, if you think this is a problem just in the city of Los Angeles, buckle up. The whole state of California is feeling the effects of global warming. So the chances of them making air conditioning a habitability issue, in my opinion, are going to be high. Think about it in one perspective only. What would you want if you lived there? And the reason I say that is, what would you want if you lived there? What would you expect? Because if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for them. So let me ask a question. Would you live in San Bernardino with no AC and no swamp cooler? I wouldn't. I'm going through midlife, hot flashes, melting from the inside out. I need cool air ASAP, okay? No joke. I even now have a fan that I can put around my neck. It's ridiculous, but it helps me. So don't be shocked when all of a sudden it's going to become a law, because it's happening. The whole country is warming up faster than we want it to. Okay. Val says, if it exceeds 90 degrees, the swamp cooler doesn't work. That's when all the complaints come in. And she's probably right. There's probably a threshold there between 90 and 100 degrees. And what it does is, instead of, think of it this way, if you mist in front of a fan, you get cold air blown at you because it's damp and it's got moisture. But if it's just as hot, it now doesn't cool you down. It actually adds to the heat index by creating humidity. Different set of facts, but that's what we see with evaporative coolers. Now I want a swimming pool and a smoker. I got a smoker. I don't want a pool necessarily. Well, I'd be fine in a kiddie pool because I'm very little. But yeah, I don't necessarily need a pool. Just a place where I can cool off in a rapid fashion. All right. In a commercial, the AC might be 15 years old and happen to fail on the second year of the lease. Then accordingly to the lease, the tenant would be responsible to replace it. Belsey, commercial and residential, two totally different entities, and you're spot on. Okay, depending on what your commercial rental agreement says. Make no mistake, you guys, don't make the same mistakes commercial. Just because commercial can do it doesn't mean you can do it in residential. Example, disposition of security deposit on residential dwellings. The date is 21 days. Anybody know what it is on commercial? Because it's not 21 days. I know Hilda's going to answer this one. I already know. I saw her in here. I don't know how busy she is, but it'll come. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys, so you have a full grasp of it, is residential and commercial are two totally different entities. Let me put it this way. Residential has fair housing. Commercial? Do you know why? Because they're not providing housing. It's a business. So can they discriminate when they're screening? Oh, there is no discrimination in commercial. Oh, wait, what? Commercial laws for rentals and residential laws for rentals are two entirely different entities. They have different rules. They work on different calendars, okay? So because they're saying it's a habitability issue in residential dwellings, it doesn't mean you have to do it in commercial. There is no habitable premises in commercial, okay? I'm trying. All right, somebody had a great question and called me with it earlier today. I want to say it was my Roadrunner team. And I said, bring that up in my meeting, please. Let's talk about it so everybody understands. So if you're in here and that triggered your memory, please, I want to make sure that we're educating everybody. For the life of me, I was getting ready to do something and I had people on hold. I took her call. I answered her question. I moved along. And now I totally can't even tell you what her question was. If my hair was on fire, but it was a really good question. I want to say it came from Roadrunner. Are you guys in here? Are you there? They might be busy too. I tell tenants to install a portable AC on the floor if they wish. You don't allow them to do a window unit. Gotcha. Roadrunner, what did you call and ask me before when I was helping a bunch of people and I said, ask your question quickly? And I answered it. What was that question? Because I want to talk about that in here so everybody learns. LARSO eviction going to lockout soon. Can you walk me through what we need to do to be aware of from that point, please? Assume sheriff's fast evict advises us a few days before. Yeah, hurry up and wait. When the sheriff gives you your lockout date is usually, thank you, Roadrunner. We're going to talk about that. Mwah, you're my hero. Now I lost my train of thought. See how easy that happens? Blonde. RSO, assume the sheriff. We're going to wait for the sheriff to give us a lockout date. In the meantime, watch the property for the tenants to vacate. If we have a lockout date and time from the sheriff, and I'm going to give you an example, it's going to be on Tuesday, and I'm just throwing out a date. The likelihood of them moving out this weekend is high. So keep that in mind, okay? Check it on Monday is what I'm trying to tell you. Whenever you guys have a lockout, but a couple days before that is the weekend, go there on Monday. Chances are they moved out over the weekend. And come on, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if they vacated the premises. You can go see if the water meter's moving, if the electric meter's moving. And if you pay all the utilities, then you have to go knocking and talking. And there's been plenty of times where I've knocked on a door and they've opened it and I went, oh, you're still here. I don't mean to bother you. I was just checking. Have a wonderful day. And I walk away. Nothing wrong with that. You didn't serve me 24-hour notice. I also didn't come into your unit. And I didn't do anything that the mailman or the pizza delivery boy couldn't do. Knocking and talking isn't breaking the law. And if I knock and you open, whoa, okay, you're still here. I'm gone. I didn't mean to bother you. I had no idea you were still here. Have a great day. Okay. Okay. All right. And I see my question. The tenant called in to say that they threw away the screen door because it was broken and bent, and they requested a new one. After they threw away the old one, who broke it and bent it? So she asked me, what do I do about this? It's a habitability issue. You're right, it is a habitability issue. If it had a screen at hello, it needs to continue with the screen. Okay, so tenant can withhold rent, but they threw away the door. Why? Did they walk through it in a drunken stupor? Did somebody try to attack on them? Did they have to go to the bathroom bad and it wouldn't open and they bent it up trying to get inside? Who knows? Who knows? The reality is the tenant removed the screen door and threw it away and called the property manager saying that they needed it replaced. Anybody? Oh, she already told her what I did. So at this point, it would be an unauthorized modification to the property without written consent of the landlord. They removed something. So we're going to serve them a 3-day cure or quit so they can put it back at their expense. And if they don't, we can use this to evict and or otherwise, okay? But that's how you combat that stuff. Instead of talking with your mouth, because that gets you in trouble with lawsuits, you're going to use your documents to talk for you. Your notices should be talking for you. And I'm going to tell you this until I'm blue in the face. If you can't say what you're trying to say to your tenant in a notice, then you probably shouldn't be saying it. Okay? Think about that. Retaliatory issues are real, especially in some of our metropolis counties in Southern California. I hope you had a photo of the before screen. Obviously, they ruined it, jerks. Yep. And it is an unauthorized modification to the property without written consent of the landlord. Same thing if they take down your cameras. Or put tape over your camera lens. I wouldn't know anything about that. I don't. I don't know anything about that. All right, what else do you guys have today? Because my big thing I wanted to talk to you about was modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord and Assembly Bill 12. Larso, that's what I call it, LARSO, eviction tenant requesting pest control. If he fumigates her apartment, she is the only one who consistently requests this. It is a fourplex. Can we go in to see the state of the apartment same time as pest control, or just get pest control to take pics? Serve a 24-hour notice to enter. She doesn't allow entry to you. She doesn't allow entry to you. She is also requesting, again, new flooring. Her carpet was installed prior to us purchasing the building 8 years ago, but it looks to be in very good condition, and we've discussed with her many times. Okay, why does she want new flooring? Is she allergic to the dust and the debris in the padding and the carpeting? She says it's making her sick. Okay, slow down. This is a good thing, okay? Melanie, pay attention to me. She says it's making her sick. Tell her that she can provide a doctor's note about the carpeting making her ill. And then you could do something about it, but you need a note from a doctor. I'm waiting for the why, Patty. Why? Why do I want a note from a doctor that the carpeting in the house is making her sick? Because then it could be considered a request for reasonable modifications based on a disability, and she would be responsible for paying those expenses. You would just have to allow it. I'm waiting for the, wait, what'd you say? She says it's making her sick. Hopefully it will coincide with her incarceration for solicitation. Yes, please repeat. If she has a doctor's note to replace the carpeting because she's allergic to it or sensitive to it, or there's something about it that is not arguing with her system, okay? Then what you're talking about is making a request for modifications to modify the property based on that person's disability. Who's responsible for paying the expenses in a modification? A modification would be changing putting in a ramp, putting in grab bars for safety issues, making it more accommodating for someone's disability. You're welcome. In other words, if they want new carpet and they say that it's making them ill, all they need to do is provide a doctor's note. You're then going to look at that like it's no different from them wanting to put in grab rails. Yes, I allow you to do that. You have to use our licensed contractor and it will be at your expense. Okay, so when somebody, oh, bing, you're not paying for it. You're just allowing them to do it. And they may have to use your vendor so that they're licensed and insured to work on the property. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you guys is when these tenants tell you there's a problem, don't automatically go to why, what'd you screw up? Listen to them. Figure out how you're not responsible. Remember me? I don't want to pay for anything unless I have to. Yes, Arlene, there is a new form. It's LAHD's form. And it did have to be posted on the property in February. Contact Fastovic. They can email you a copy of it.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
No worries.
Yeah, you said there's a new one that came out July 1st.
Yes, there is.
Okay, all right.
I think the relocation amounts are different on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries, no worries. I'm going through my list, so bear with me. I know I need a zipper on my mouth. I wasn't expecting my partner to say something to our consistently late paying tenant. She warned him in a text that this was the last time she would accept late rent. Was this okay or a big boo? Val, are you on CAA's rental contract? Because my question becomes, do you have a waiver clause in your written contract? What a waiver clause is so that everybody understands, and it's in those legal terms in the back of your lease that you just don't understand. You know how it says rent, security deposit. This one's in the back end of your lease contract and it says waiver. Okay? You want that in your contract. What that says is just because I did this once before does not mean I'm rewriting the rules and this is how it's going to be going forward. If you don't have a waiver clause in your contract, by accepting the rent late, you are changing when the rent is due. Guilty by acceptance. I hope this makes sense. So in professional property management, one of the things that we always do when we take over a property, you know, a landlord says, hi, I'm here, I need help. They don't call us because everything's sunshine and roses in their life. They call us because they're in the middle of their own shit show. You know, midnight performance, matinee, you never know when the next film's gonna play. That's when a landlord calls a property manager, is when they're in the middle of a crisis and they don't know what to do. One of the very first things I do in property management, and all of my professional property managers, please listen and pay attention. This is very important. If there is no waiver clause in that contract, whatever oral agreement's been going on for the last however long now controls, and you, the professional, don't know what the rules are. In fact, you're clueless. So the first thing that I do as a professional property manager is serve a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy as long as they are on a month-to-month. And what I change in there is in 31 days, we will be reverting back to the written terms of the rental agreement. Any oral agreements made previously now become null and void. And starting 30 days from now, we are reverting back to the written terms of the rental contract dated blank. What does that do? It takes all the uncertainty out of the equation. And now I know what the rules are. In 30 days, I can start implementing them. That help? Okay. I'm back to my list of questions, so just bear with me. Explain, I hopefully will. Let's repeat, please. I know I need a zipper on my mouth. Got that? Okay, then. Mind blown. Who's mind blown? Melanie's mind blown. The doctor will find out that she's on drugs and hallucinating. No, the thing is she's telling you that the carpet is irritating her. If the carpet is irritating her and she is having an allergy to it, then she should have the right to change that carpeting at her own expense, because it's at no fault of the landlord that the tenant is allergic. I have allergies too. I'm allergic to bullshit, bullets, and bitching. Just kidding. I'm allergic to mangoes. Go figure. And I love them, but they hate me. Hate me. Okay. I love them, but they don't love me. Causes swelling of the face, the throat. I look like I have elephantitis if I eat a mango. It's not good, but that's an allergy for me. I'm allergic to mangoes. If somebody's allergic to dust or pet dander, and the previous landlord or the previous tenant had a pet, we've cleaned, everything's fine, and they're still susceptible to that, that would be a request for reasonable modifications based on a disability. And landlords, we don't pay for that. We have to allow the tenants to do it at their expense, but we don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay if they have an allergy to something or they're being affected by something based on their disability, or they need additional assistance because of their disability. Example, if you have a tenant that is hard of hearing and or deaf and or uses hearing aids and or has their hearing compromised, they may ask you to put in flashing strobe smoke detectors instead of the ones that beep. That's a request for reasonable accommodation, modifications, because you're changing the property. It's not changing the rule. That's an accommodation. This would change the property. Technically, the changes to the property based on a disability fall on the tenant. If it's a flashing smoke detector, I pay for that. Common courtesy. If they're grab bars, I make the tenant pay for it, and they have to pay to put it back when they vacate. Same thing with carpeting or something along those lines. If they want you to change the property for them and you can figure that it's based on a disability, that's why I said, oh, she's getting sick or she has allergies. Oh, allergies. Allergies is good. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It's one of the things that I can do to help you with all these things that tenants do. We have always accepted his rent late plus a 10% fee. However, we usually serve him a 3-day pay or quit like clockwork. He's on an older agreement since he's been there about 5 years. Yes, it's on a month to month. See if you have a waiver clause, Val. In that legal jargon in the back end, there should be a paragraph about waiver. If you don't have that, we need to talk about doing a change of terms and implementing that into your lease. So whatever you do doesn't change the rules permanently. What if there wasn't a written agreement provided? If you don't have a written contract, you're on an oral agreement and it becomes a little bit more challenging. So how I try to sell that to tenants is like this. Hey, I was reviewing in your tenant file and I happened to notice that the contract that you're on is very outdated. It doesn't have all of the new laws that help protect you or all of the new things that notify you of what your rights are. So I'd like to go ahead and put you on a new month-to-month contract with no changes as far as a rent increase or deposit increase or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand what your rights are as a tenant here and that you understand the rules. So let's go ahead and put you on a new month-to-month contract. We're not going to do anything crazy, like I said, of increasing the rent or something like that, just so that we have in writing what the rules are here. It's the best way that I could protect you, Miss Tenant, and notify you of what your rights are as a tenant in the state of California, in the city of whatever, in the county of Los Angeles. And then you see what they say. And if they say, no, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to get on a new lease contract. Well, I'd be more than happy to provide the written rental agreement so that you could look at it and maybe even take it to your legal counsel for review prior to signing. There is a way. There is, but you're going to have to talk to your legal counsel. It's going to depend on governing parties and things of that nature, but prior to the COVID pandemic, we were able to utilize a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy, and the terms that we're changing is the attached written rental agreement. However, with all of the rules with the new municipalities, I don't know that that would still fly. I need to check with legal counsel, and I have a feeling it's going to be based on area. So what is good in LA may not be good in San Bernardino, and that may not be good in Kern County, and that may not be good in San Diego. So it may be very area specific on what we can and can't do. I hope that made sense. Back in the day, we used to do it with a 12-gauge shotgun. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You sign this or else. No, no. Remember, landlords, we don't look good in orange, okay? We want to err on the side of caution, give benefit of doubt to everybody, and make sure that we don't end up in an orange jumpsuit. I actually really like the color of orange, but I would never wear it. Val, if you don't have a waiver clause in your written rental contract, when you accept the rent late, you're changing the due date. So if they start paying the rent on the 15th of the month and you accept it on the 15th of the month, that's when the rent's now due. Understand? What a waiver clause says is just because I waived this in the past doesn't mean I have to keep waiving it in the future. Just because I allowed you to pay your rent on the 15th of that month doesn't mean I'm changing the rules and that's when the rent's due now. It's still due on the 1st, according to your contract. So that's what a waiver clause is. What it says is just because I accepted rent later, I waived this, or I did that, or I didn't charge you a late fee this time, doesn't mean I'm rewriting the rules. That's what a waiver clause is, okay? A waiver of when the rent is due by accepting it late. Makes sense? I'm trying. Sometimes it doesn't make sense and I gotta reboot, reload, and attack from a different position. And in corporate America, when a landlord comes to us, we don't know what they've waived. We don't know what rules or oral arrangements they've made that voids the written notice or the written contract. The best way we can take control back is by serving them a change of terms of tenancy, reverting back to the original written rental agreement dated blank. Now I can move forward in 31 days knowing exactly what the rules are because they're there in writing. And nothing's been waived because I eliminated that by telling them that we were giving them 30 days to revert back to the original terms of the written rental contract. Now rent is due on the 1st, blah, 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 whatever your rules are. I know how I can attack if need be, because I now know exactly what the rules are and I haven't waived anything. Janine, what you got? The original tenant passed away a number of years ago, and now her adult kids continue to reside in the unit. Do I create a new agreement for them, or are they covered by the original agreement made by their mother? Are they on the original agreement by their mother as additional occupants? And if the answer is no, then I would tell them that they need to get on their own contract with you now that mother has passed away. Don't be rude about it. We want to be extremely understanding and caring. Example, you know, it's been some time since your mother passed away, and I didn't want to approach you before because I know that you needed time to process with the loss in your life. However, now moving forward, I need to put you on your own written rental agreement because the rules that we have in place have your mom's name and your mom's signature, and she's not here anymore, and you are. So let's make sure we get you on a contract, get all of our ducks in a row, and make sure you're aware of all the laws that protect you. They're already living there. It doesn't matter if they qualify. Make no mistake. You are already accepting rent from them. They are legally your tenants. Wait, what did Patty just say? Okay, let me ask you a question. You serve me with a 3-day pay rent or quit because I haven't paid the rent. And my son shows up at your house with a check. Hey, I'm here to pay my mom's rent. Do you take the rent check from my son? And my professional managers out there that know the answer to this, refrain, okay? Landlords, come on. I'm asking you a question. Pay attention. Do you take the rent from my son? He's there to pay the rent. You served me with a 3-day notice. He's over 18, so he's 30 years old, okay? There's no question that he's a minor or not a minor. People are saying no, don't do it. Don't take the money from the son. You guys ready? I can't pay my rent because I'm in the hospital. Didn't tell you that part, did I? Technically, I don't have to. Paying attention? Now you're going to evict me when my son tried to pay the rent. Did you ask my son to put in writing that by paying the rent to me, he is not creating a tenancy and he's simply paying the rent for his mother, who is not available to do so at this time? That's what you need to do. You can take the rent from them as long as they put in writing that they are not creating a tenancy by paying you and they're paying the rent for someone else. Because then they're not your tenant. Okay, everybody grab a hold of that because you're gonna need it. All you have to do is have that person put in writing that by them paying the rent to you, it doesn't create a tenancy for them, that they have no interest in this property and they're just paying the rent on behalf of the tenant that's in possession. Now, will you take the rent check from my son? He filled all that out and signed it. Will you take the rent check from him now? I want to see the same amount of answers come through. Aaron, I saw you answer, so you answer again. If my son signs that paper saying he has no interest in the property and he's just paying the rent for his mother, do you take the rent from him? For anybody that's still saying, no, I don't take the rent from him, you just lost your eviction case. Okay. You got to have that piece of paper saying that by accepting the rent from him, you are not creating a tenancy and he's simply paying the rent on behalf of the tenant in possession. And if he happens to tell you I'm incapacitated in the hospital in the meantime, so be it. But I'm going to tell my son not to disclose my personal information to anyone. It's not a patty form. It's actually the law. No joke. Check with your apartment association. It has to do with third-party payments. Okay. And if they don't have it, I guess it's a document I'm going to have to get with my web guide that I'm going to have to help create with the attorneys. You can't take money from a minor. You guys, I could tell you some stuff that would make you go, wait, what? 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 Legally, I don't think minors are allowed to purchase anything in a store and receive a receipt. I don't want to get into it. As long as they put in writing that they are not constituting a tenancy by paying you directly, and that they're simply paying the rent on behalf of the tenant in possession, you should be fine. Uh-oh, I got a big one now coming in. Thank you, Teresa. City of LA, not under rent control, built in 2003, new. No written agreement. Damn it. Inherited from another evicted tenant, male. Oh my God. Office only, druggie, marijuana, and unknown drug smoker user, which affects your allergies. I think she gave me cancers. I'm 70 years old, cigarette smoker too, about 24/7, about 47 years or so. She removed smoke detector in this small office in 2011. She paid $150, but knit consistent as practice music room. She slept with every guy in the hood, but not did I take $300 in 2017, only for 2 months. She stopped paying me. Clogged all common walkways with junk furniture, uses our water, no pay, has feral cats in the unit, brought coyotes to the property, plus poop all over. I've served her quit notices. So now what do I serve her? A 60-day notice to quit, and then she proceeds to an eviction. She has physically assaulted me years ago. LAPD did nothing. She continuously threatens, berates, and goes on psycho on me. Destroyed wood door with a hammer, modified the whole property with an awning, has an outside refrigerator. Can I evict her, or do I have to give her just cause to evict? You have just cause. You just aren't going to want to know what I got to tell you. She has an office in the bottom floor. I'm assuming that this property that you're speaking of is not permitted for residential dwelling. It would be a shame if somebody turned you into code enforcement and then red tagged the building. A shame. I understand, but that's the document you need to get her out. Could she
That's the
sue
only
you?
way?
It's not a
That's the only
habitable,
way?
it's not a habitable dwelling. You could give her a 60-day notice, but you're going to be paying her relocation fees.
I called the city and LAHD and said I didn't have to pay her, but maybe they're wrong. She's a squatter.
No, she's not. She's a tenant at will. They don't allow you to do evictions for that in LA. The biggest issue is there's no bathroom and no kitchen in her unit, so it's not a habitable dwelling. And if
She's
that's the
cooking
case,
inside there.
hold on. If that's the case and you rented her a commercial dwelling, then you could just give her a 30-day notice to get out, because commercial has no protections. So if you rented her an office space, you could technically give her a 30-day notice to get out, because that falls under commercial law.
Oh,
You keep calling it office space. In my opinion, that is commercial, not residential.
the guy, I don't know if she was sleeping with him that I heard her from in court.
Who
She said, oh,
cares?
it's a music room.
Who,
It's a music
okay.
room.
So you
she
rented it
claimed as
to
a music
her.
room.
So you rented it to her for commercial use as an office,
Yeah.
as a music room, but not as an apartment. So if you rented it
It's
to her
true.
as a music room, then you could terminate the tenancy with a commercial 30-day notice.
That's a different form. A
Uh-huh.
different form for 30-day note. Oh, crap. Yeah. AOA USA has that commercial 30-day notice.
I'm
Or
not
you have?
sure. I'm not
I've never
sure.
even seen it.
She has
Commercial
no
30-day
written
notice.
rental agreement, Val, so it's commercial. Because it's not
Shit.
habitable dwelling. She rented it to her as a music room or as office space, not as an apartment. So it is considered a commercial rental,
I think somebody
not a
said,
residential dwelling.
since even though it's commercial, it's in a residential duplex. So therefore it was residential. Some eviction place said long time ago, but if that's the case, it's a commercial, I would do it. Oh, well, if that's
Call-
the case,
Call your legal counsel. I just gave you an avenue to attempt to go down.
okay,
Okay?
fast
It
eviction.
should paint
I
everything.
don't-
Yeah, but I can't give you legal advice. I'm not an attorney. So now take the
Okay.
information I've provided to you and go to your legal counsel and ask them what you can do.
Do you think fast eviction, or I don't have to go to like Brennan or somebody? I used Brennan before, but he was expensive. Or go with Brennan or a lawyer or
Fast evictions is attorney owned and operated by attorneys. So if that is your legal
Mhm.
counsel, call them and ask them.
well, I don't have one.
Then call
I had a
whomever
paid
you
one before.
choose. call whomever legal counsel you choose to ask them how you terminate a commercial tenancy in your area.
Ah, okay. Someone said they were going to evict me and let me handle it because I can't handle shit, and evict me from prevent me from doing anything because I can't do shit.
Just
That's what my
hire,
friends told me. They'll take my
just hire a professional property manager. I guarantee you, some of them are actually in this meeting right now. How many professional property managers that manage property for others for profit do I have in this class right now? If you're one of them, just say me. Here we go. There's one. You're going to see a lot. I happen to know there's actually real estate brokers sitting in this course right now. I see her. I'm just wondering if she's going to pipe up and say, I hear you, but I'm busy. So just so you guys know, Hilda is a real estate broker that owns a property management company. And I see that she's in this class right now. We have another one. Maral, you're one. So as nicely as I could say this, there's property managers that would help you right here. Okay. But I would contact whatever legal counsel you're going to use and bring that to their attention. I live on one unit. In one unit, they can PM me. Oh, there you go. Teresa's telling you. Here, message me here. Here's my email. Party time or part-time? Teresa.
I'm sorry. My number is in the men's stall.
Hey, it was all good.
Never mind.
But what I'm trying to prove to you is this isn't just other independent landlords that sit in these Widgets Way meetings. Sometimes we have attorneys in these classes that join us. Sometimes we have other property managers. We have real estate brokers. We have all kinds of things. Patty's a plethora of knowledge in various areas. And sometimes in my brain, I can actually see the document. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's not a photographic memory because I can't remember the shit I want to. Can't remember the stuff I don't want to, and that's not fair. But a lot of times when you guys ask me a question, is how I can answer it so quickly is I have a photo of it in my mind. I know that sounds ridiculous, but hey, it works. But there's property managers in here that can help you guys. That's why I generated this, is so we could all stay on the same page. It is a fire safety problem. It's a bigger problem if she's cooking in there. We evict a lot of people out of commercial space for trying to live in it. Hold on, I saw just cause, and now I lost everything I was looking at. Hang on. I'm blonde. Okay, here we go. Just cause. Do I have to give? If you have somebody that's smoking in a property and you're in a non-smoking community, you want to do your curable breach of covenants and change their AC filter. Do I have to give just cause to evict if you're on a just cause only ordinance? In other words, you can only evict for cause. Landlord move-ins not allowed. Okay, that would be a just cause ordinance, meaning you can only evict if you have cause, and it's not cause you want to. It's cause they didn't pay the rent, cause they're breaking the rules, cause they did this. That City of LA music room. Okay, if it's a music room in the city of Los Angeles, that falls under commercial management, and just cause does not apply for commercial in that city. So it's a 30-day GTFO notice. Got it? But I would have to check the address. I'd have to check this. I'd have to check that. Is commercial leases different? Absolutely. The first thing it says is this is not rented to you for a residential dwelling. But she has an oral contract. That's would be the approach I would take with it. I was waiting to see if Hilda would pop in and say something because I saw her in here earlier. She may be busy. Commercial leases are very different. 30-day notice to evict commercial in the state of California right now, yes, unless a municipality has protections. And as far as I know, there aren't protections for commercial at this time, but you know, that wind blows rather often and you never know. Renting a garage separately, is that commercial? Most likely. You guys paying attention yet? Residential rules and commercial rules are night and day. Okay, don't forget that. Residential and commercial are two totally different things. We have 21 days after a tenant vacates to allocate their entire security deposit, providing paid invoices and copies of checks paid out if need be. We have to document every dime. In commercial, you can pull those numbers out of thin air. No receipts are required.
Oh, wow. Repeat that again.
$10,000 for paint, $10,000 for carpet. The protections are in residential dwellings. Residential. Commercial does not have the same protections residential does. They are night and day.
Oh,
Oh,
so if a tenant runs a business in a legal unit, is that considered commercial?
it's not an illegal unit. It is actually for commercial purposes because it's not a residential dwelling. It doesn't have a kitchen. It doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. It is not residential if it doesn't have a certificate of occupancy.
Right, it doesn't.
Right.
Not the
So you
basement.
could rent that space as an office, as a music room, as a storage area, all on a commercial contract.
I guess oh, wow. Okay.
You may want to talk to a property manager that can help you understand what's going on. You got it, Val. I love you. Have a great day. Okie doke. I'm going to get off of here too, you guys. If anybody needs anything else or has anything that they want to bring up right before I close this out, let us know.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I manage different properties for different owners, and I have this one owner who always posts his rental ads himself. And knowing some of these owners, I always go and I check the rental ads. So
Smart
the
woman.
other day I checked the rental ad, and he wrote something like this. I took a picture. It said 2-bedroom, 1 bath for rent. And it says only for man and woman. And I saw that. Here we go. It says remodeled apartment has 1 parking, includes refrigerator, microwave, maximum 2 people, man and wife, quiet area, close to shopping, must be legal in the United States. In the US Section 8 is okay. So I quickly call him and I tell him that he needs to modify his ad. And he says, why? I said, well, first of all, you put there man and woman, and you put maximum 2 people. But I said, you're not allowed to put that. That could be a form of discrimination. People are going to look. And if they're not a man and wife couple or so on and so forth, we're going to have really big problems. So he got into this big argument with me and he said, don't get involved. And so I flagged the post.
Good
Now,
girl.
Am I right in doing this?
Are you a licensed agent working under a broker?
I am. Yes, I am.
Bring that to your broker's attention.
Okay, so the broker knows nothing about fair housing. I am the one who keeps taking the fair housing courses. I have all the certifications. I also have the CAM, the CALP, and the CAPS designations as well.
So far, what you read to me, you have two violations there. One is man or woman, and the other one is you have to be legal in the US.
Legal, correct. And those are the ones I told him.
Those are the two out of what you said that I immediately picked up on. The two max people, I don't see that as an issue. At least he didn't use the word single. God love him.
Yeah. Yes.
But what your broker needs to be aware of is who's responding to these ads. Is it the landlord or you guys?
So the landlord is posting the ads because they're kind of mom and pop buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And they're posting the ads, but I guess what happened is they're finding that they're not able to qualify the residents around the application. So I'm sure you know that there's a big rise in real estate agents renting out rental properties now. So now we see more and more mom and pop buildings come to real estate companies and have them rent out their units. So this is why
it's coming. Do you want to know why?
Go ahead.
Because the agent goes, oh, I can help you. Oh, I can help you. But remember this, you guys, I'm a real estate broker. I don't practice sales. I actually hire somebody if I want to buy or sell something in my portfolio because it's not my area. Only property management is. And what's happening right now is real estate sales are dying. And all of these agents are hungry. So they're practicing property management, trying to make ends meet, but they don't know what they're doing.
I'm like you. I'm not
Remember, I'm a
in
broker. I have an area of expertise. I hire someone if I want to buy or sell a house in my own portfolio. Why? Because I don't practice sales transactions on a daily basis. It's not my area. My area is property management. What's going to happen is the same thing we saw happen in 2008, 2009, when the market crashed. All these agents are hungry and they're going to start doing whatever they think they know how to do. Oh, I'll manage the property for you. I'll do this because they're trying to fill up their pockets. There's no sales going on. Okay. So it is going to be something we're seeing. We're going to see major property management companies opening out of a division of a sales office and they're clueless. So yes, I agree with you. If you're not the one screening, you're safe. The landlord did it. That's on the landlord. If he's bringing you, here they are, move them in, then he did all of that, not you.
Okay, thank you. But I also wanted to just make a note of this as well. I meet a lot of real estate agents for property management deals. And when I even go there, I mean, you can count how many fair housing violations they give you when they are giving a tour of the property. And I'm looking like them and I'm like, I asked them at the end, I'm like, do you guys even take the fair housing courses? Because if I was a shopper, I would have written up everything and reported it to the housing. Like one of the ladies turned around and said, it's a new building on Morrison in the San Fernando, it's a new construction. So they advertised, you don't need a social, you don't need this, you can have Section 8, so on and so forth. But when you go there, she goes, no children are allowed. And I said, where did you get this information from? I said, do you know that if it wasn't me, I would call the government. I would report this. I would get an attorney. Especially, I have children as well, so you're discriminating against me. But, so I'm running into this thing that almost everywhere I go, I'm monitoring and I'm listening and I'm like, okay, violation. And how are these people operating? Because
okay, so let me tell you something you don't know. Okay. Right now,
thank you.
Fair housing has been quiet during all of COVID. Would you agree with that statement? Yeah,
yes,
they have
definitely.
They've been really quiet during COVID. They're back. They have all their funding saved up for the last 4 years and they are running in full force. And let me tell you something. You want to know who they're attacking?
The owners?
Corporate America.
Corporate America.
That is their first target. The little guy's coming next. So their first target to get everybody back on track is to attack corporate America because they are the leader in the industry. So once they're done attacking corporate with all their secret shopping and their cold calling, they're going to be coming after the little guy, and they will attack. That's why they attack those real estate offices, because they're savvy and they know what they're doing, trying to offset their own expenses and income. Makes sense. But then what do? Do they take all the agents that didn't make it in sales and then make them property managers with no training? Maybe, but that's why they're coming after corporate America right now. Get ready. They'll be coming after the little guy soon enough.
I have told the broker on multiple occasions that I think that it's time for him to get some type of a software, you know, Grace Hill, Edge to Learn. And if they want to have real estate agents move to the property management sector, they must give them the property management and the fair housing trainings. But I keep saying it and I keep hearing it. So I don't know.
Well, all I could tell you, sweetheart, is it sounds like you got your head on straight. You either need to get away from the boat anchors that are going to drag you through the legal mud, or get them to see the light, one or the other.
I'm actually working on two deals at the moment. We'll see where I end up.
Hey,
only
we all work
because
for somebody that we kind of went, what am I doing here?
I guess a majority of the reason I stayed is because I am a real estate agent and I don't like to sell. It's not, I've been in property management for 20 years, but the only thing that I do stay for is on the investment property side. I do like the due diligence process and the entire inspections, units, the paperwork, the audits. I love that process of buying and selling buildings.
So get more involved in mergers and acquisitions.
That's exactly what I'm working on.
That's why I went with property management. That's the niche I love.
Same. All right, so then we have a lot in common.
Hey, there you go. All right, you guys,
Wonderful.
I'm going to
Thank
end
you
this
so
for
much.
today. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week. If you need anything, you know how to find me. Bye.